Welcome back to the TSR Bagocast. It's been a week, boys. It's been a week, right? Speaking of weeks, how have you guys been up? What have you guys been up to this week?
I have been watching how much of a failure Stadia is, and well, we're actually really packed with news for this week. Like, X019 happened, Pokemon Sword and Shield is Pokemon Sword and Shield, and Stadia, has been a massive, disappointment in terms of
Laughing stock.
yeah, like I have no idea who
Sorry, I
this
got a little
service
bit of
is.
cough.
I have no idea who this service is catering to at this point. Like, I don't even know what to think about it. So you know what?
Right.
So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been thinking. In terms of games, I have been
That's what
playing.
you.
Yeah, in terms of games, I have been playing a lot of Team Fortress 2, and I
Oh
also
wow.
have been. And well, that's besides the usual review stuff and playing.
Your
Smash
review's
Bros.
going
And
pretty
whatnot.
well.
Yeah, I say so.
Smash Bros. I've been practicing Terry too. I'll get that. But I'll get into that when I get to my week. Nice. Sounds like a good week. Sounds like you had a pretty good week this week. Nothing
Yeah,
big,
productive.
nothing bad. Yeah. What about you, Zeus? Anything big this week? Anything good you want to talk about?
Well, I started playing Luigi's Mansion 3, and that's been a pretty hype
Ooh.
title for a while. And definitely today will be some comparisons between that and Pokemon Sword and Shield. But I mean, what a game! What quality! What I have so much to gush about that game, and I'm glad Luigi's getting a treatment that he deserves. Also been doing,
yeah, as the better Mario bro.
yeah. Also been doing more Borderlands 3 stuff. Say what you want about the Epic Game Store, but it's still I still think it's a solid title, and I've been having a lot of fun with my friend for the past couple weeks now. So, yeah, having fun there, taking care of myself. Holidays around the corner, including my birthday next Sunday.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wants
Gonna
to.
be.
He wants to play Borderlands 3 all the fucking time, but I never. But when I asked him to, when I asked him to play Dead Rising 2, he fucking gives me a no all the time. So,
Hey, you should have caught me. You should have
kind of.
you should have caught me when before my PS4 fried. I had that game. But oh well.
I mean, maybe sometime when I have less on my log, but I just wanted to get through that game and
Yeah.
whittle
I feel
away
you.
at the
Dead Rising
backlog.
2 is you can't wait on that game. That game has a time limit and it's a lot of the stuff is strict, so you just kind of got to burn through it. There's no slow way to play that game. Anyway, speaking of fried PS4s, my week has been eventful, to say the least. Our commenter Yule here and another one of our team members that's in the TSR Discord gifted me a gracious gift today. They gave me a PS4 Pro and a ton of games that went with it because our
Awesome.
friend Aisha doesn't need it anymore and figured I could get more use out of it, and I could. But before that, I was pretty much playing a ton of Final Fantasy IX. I'm really trying to burn through that so I can get more through 7 before the remake comes out. More importantly, before the remake comes out. But Mission Bridge is obviously the funny thing we all love to watch. But the more important project to get to is remake next year. So
I agree.
yeah,
And
trying to
I'm
get through
not a
that as
fan-
quick as possible.
Yeah.
Huh?
yeah,
I'm not
guys.
a Final Fantasy fan myself, but I'm still very interested in seeing how this remake goes. So,
Absolutely. And I am a big Final Fantasy fan, so there's a lot of intrigue going on around there.
I mean, yeah, guys.
Uh,
Like Weed hasn't gotten past this squad.
I haven't gotten past
By the
disc
way.
1 yet on my. I know a lot about Final Fantasy 7, but I've never completed it on my own. But I got past disc 1,
Yeah.
and I want to get through 9 because I'm so close to the end. I'm on disc 3, about a quarter of the way through disc 3 on 9, so I want to get that done at some point. And,
Oh my god.
but with this new PS4, I don't know. I mean, there's so much to do.
that library, man, I don't blame you if you wanted to do something else.
Yeah, and speaking of diversion, I've been getting into Dying Light because I never got to try it. It looks good in the Pro, and I'm getting into the dot hack GU games, and they're pretty fun. So I'll get back to you guys more when I get more through at least dot hack or something.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's pretty much been my week.
In my case, I just think that I hate Final Fantasy. In case anybody wonders, but oh my god, I have been playing every single one of those for the last 2 years, and fuck, my experience hasn't changed. But at the very least, At the very least, like I got some good points of them. So my overall opinion hasn't changed, but at the very least, I know that there are some redeeming values to them. So yeah.
Yeah, and you never know. I mean, with the remake and how it changes things and how it changes things about Final Fantasy you don't like, maybe you'll end up giving it a better shot when that comes around.
Yeah.
To PC. Uh, uh, sorry, that seems a little rude, but it is what it is. We'll experience it together. Um, anyway, that's pretty much been our weeks. We got some. Speaking of big weeks, it's been a big week in gaming news, pretty much. Unexpectedly, too. I mean, we all knew Pokemon Sword and Shield came out, which is going to be our first big topic this week. But I didn't expect the X019, however you pronounce it. I'm sorry, I'm not the best with that kind of thing. It looks weird, but
I'm pretty sure it's X019.
yeah, X019. Who would have expected that to be such a big newsmaker this week? I didn't even see it coming. I didn't even know it was happening this week, to be 100% honest with you.
I'll be honest. I knew that I knew that it was happening, but I didn't think that it would bring this much news.
Yeah, I mean, Zeus, we're going to get into this question a little bit later in the podcast when we talk about it, but Zeus brought up a very interesting point about E3 that I think is kind of valid with how this turned out, but we'll get there down the line. We're going to start off with kind of the Pokemon Sword and Shield dropped this week, so we have a lot to say about it. We've been talking about this ever since the first reveal trailer for Sword and Shield itself came out on our own individual podcast before we merged. So the biggest question is, now that it's out, now that we've all kind of gotten our eyes on it, some of us may have gotten our hands on it. What are you guys thinking so far?
Oh boy, where do you even start? You want to take the lead on this, Yule?
No, you do it.
Okay. Well, I have been watching a couple of reviews lately and just getting initial reactions because I do have some friends who have played the game. And from them, because I do trust their opinion and their taste, like they are enjoying it, but there is definitely no denying that we can sum up the launch of Gen 8 as massively disappointing. And it disappoints in a lot of aspects, which, starting with the biggest one, would be the visuals. I know it's something that we've harped on since E3, starting from textures to animations to just everything in between. And yeah, like I don't know if you guys agree with me, but I feel this current generation is really not that much a step up from Gen 7 on inferior hardware.
Right. That's a big sticking point for contention in this entire gen, is that they're going to be trying to upgrade the visuals and try to take this quote-unquote next step in the evolution of the Pokemon series. And to be honest, with what you see, you can see some levels of improvement there, but it's really underwhelming, and it's really underdeveloped for what they're claiming they tried to do with this game.
Yeah, the whole thing just screams rushed. I mean, just look at it. Look at any screenshot, still or even in motion. Even in motion doesn't look that impressive. I mean, the biggest jump that other reviewers and I have noticed is just that the character models, the human models, are actually good. They look like a good blend of realistic and Pokemon and fit in Pokemon universe. But you look at the trees, the ground, the water, the Pokemon themselves, and
right.
Unfortunately, it's not it's not even a stretch. It's confirmed. Like it's been a copy paste job with these Pokemon models. Something they've done from Gen 7 to Let's Go, and now this game.
Right. And to give a comparison, like even in our own podcast discussion channel, where we kind of give ourselves details, resources, things that we kind of compilate for the podcasts. Our other member, Legon, by the way, we apologize he's not here today. He had some work stuff he has to take care of. He's going to give you guys his thoughts on Pokemon Sword and Shield next week when we talk about our weeks. So stay tuned for that. But this week, Legon sent me last night just a screenshot of Ocarina of Time and Hyrule Field and a basic field in Pokemon Sword and Shield. And I mean, obviously Sword and Shield looks a little better, but we were astonished at the reality of how much it looked similar. I mean, Sword and Shield looks like a PS2 upgrade to Ocarina of Time, and even Ocarina of Time had more crisp textures on its field and on its trees. Even though it's an old game, it looks old, but it had more crisp, less blurry texture work. and that's astonishing.
Not to mention a better frame rate. Like, holy shit.
Well, I mean, that's a little bit of an over-exaggeration. I mean, Ocarina of Time ran at like 15 frames a second, but the point still kind of stands that's like Pokemon has these frame rate issues that are really, really weird for a game that is using reused assets in some regard and really is not that massive if you look at it.
Yeah,
And
like the wild area is thought of as this super massive area where you can get in Pokemon, but honestly, it just feels like like a glorified Safari Zone, and yeah, I think that's the best way I can describe it. It's a glorified Safari Zone.
Yeah,
And
but put into the main game, which is really, really weird.
there's no excuse for this. You can attest to this because you played Xenoblade Chronicles 2, right?
I have. We both have, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if he has, but I know I have.
Yeah, that game, Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, and now Luigi's Mansion 3. Look at those games. Look at those textures. Look at the animation. Look at the cutscenes. Look at everything of that visual package.
I
And
even
compare it to
honestly
the Pokemon
think
game.
that out of all four you just brought up, I think the best comparison, which is what Legon and I and Yule were all kind of talking about when we were getting together last night to do some podcast prep, we compared it to Breath of the Wild, and we're like, look, Breath of the Wild, you can compare the developments and say it's a little incomparable because it's, Nintendo in-house with Monolith software, and yeah, you can get all that, but as two games that run on the same art style and same hardware, Breath of the Wild does so much better with that kind of style of cartoony wildlife. The world in Breath of the Wild is kind of empty to a purpose. I mean, it's intentionally that way, but it's beautiful. You don't feel bored walking through it. It's breathtaking in every area of the game. No pun intended. But it's breathtaking in every way. And when you look at Sword and Shield and just look at them in motion and walking through the world, you just don't feel that inspired. Not by the graphical fidelity, at least.
Yeah, definitely not. And it just frustrates me every time I just go back between these two games. Yeah, Breath of the Wild had what, like 6, 7 years of development time, and Sword and Shield like
Yeah.
3 or 4. So,
Yeah.
but even with less time, I mean, the Pokemon Company is massive, and I'm sure they have the resources to accomplish something similar and truly provide a next gen experience. Because Gen 8 right now does not feel next gen; it just feels like Gen 7.5, and to me, that's not acceptable.
I am very ambivalent towards this because when you grow seeing this kind of thing happen a lot, especially because Game Freak's development has been the development team at Game Freak has been like really low as of late because there even was a report about how the morale at Game Freak was an all-time low, and I'm like, yeah, I wonder why. Like you begin to notice these trends in the gaming industry, and I have the feeling that the development team was crunched for time
Yeah.
because
To go into the development, by the way, sorry to cut you off.
Sure.
You're right. You're right. You have a strong point here. The problem is like, okay, Game Freak. To go to the Breath of the Wild comparison, yes, it had more development time, but Pokemon and Zelda are right up there as Nintendo's top-selling franchises, like of all time. So I just don't understand this argument. I don't understand this. Game Freak is, small studio and blah. Like it's Nintendo, Pokemon Company, Game Freak, Nintendo. All of them realize the sales numbers behind this series, and it's like you're putting out this subpar quality content, and just because we have the diehards that are gonna buy it, it doesn't mean you can't put in that effort or give them more development teams to work with. I mean, they're developing Little Town Hero, and a lot of us agreed that it looks like no matter how that game comes out, a lot more effort and inspiration was put into that game
It
than it
already
is
came out,
the
dude.
last couple. Okay, yeah, sorry. Too many games coming out. I just didn't even keep up. But it's out, and it's like, say what you will about it. It looks like more inspiration and creativity went into that game than Pokemon has had for the last couple generations.
I mean, should I even say it? Why bother? Why bother? Like, Game Freak really knows this, but the real thing is that the Pokemon mobile endeavors have been more successful, probably because the mobile platform is one of the most popular platforms ever made and whatever. So with Pokemon Masters and Pokemon Go making their rounds like that, you know, there's no point for the console games anymore, and that's pretty much what Game Freak has been giving that impression of. Like
Yeah.
they don't really care because they're not gonna make as much as the mobile makes do. And
See, and I think that's a flawed mentality because it's like Pokemon is still selling to a lot of people. Pokemon is still one of the most marketable games in the industry. So it's like this idea that, oh, just because it's not going to sell as much as Go, it just baffles me coming from them because it's like Pokemon is still one of the most marketable things you can sell to a kid or an adult or anyone in the family. It's one of Nintendo's top selling properties. So I just this Sword and Shield is an issue that's been building for a while, but coming to a head here, and it's like Nintendo has to step in at some point and be like, "Look, what are we doing here? What's going on?" Like, they can't just let Pokemon Company and Game Freak keep acting as separate entities with one of the franchises that's most associated with their company.
I mean, the Pokemon Company seems like they don't really give a damn because they much rather push the other things like I said the apps, especially with Pokemon Home. You have something to push there, but if you do, like, for example, Pokemon Masters, Pokemon Go,
Apologies.
the recently announced Pokemon Sleep, the the shirt
All these
line. Yeah,
daily use apps.
every single thing that the Pokemon Company wants to market is already being marketed, and like I said, I don't think that they give a shit about whatever Game Freak is doing or not. And the fact that the fact that they have that mentality already speaks leaks to me about how much they believe in the console market for Pokemon, and I am
Hmm.
I am very indifferent towards it because at the end of the day, it's all a matter of people having fun, and if they have fun with the game that they're playing, well, what can I say? At least I tried to convince them that it wasn't going to be as good, but I guess they won't. So
Yeah, like I said, I have my friends who still enjoy the game, but there's just no denying that there is a lack of care and attention towards the main series titles. And you have
Hmm.
the stockholders and all the bigwigs to blame for that because Go made so much money. It got people who left Pokemon for years back into the franchise. And people forget Pokemon is a franchise, it's no longer just a video game series anymore. We got the movies, we got the anime, we have the toy line, we have the trading card game, and now we're gonna have a rumored theme park area here in my hometown. I mean, it's just like what is this? This
Is it going
is
to be its own
grown
theme
so
park? Is
massive.
the rumor that it's going to be its own theme park, or is it going to be part of the Nintendo Land that's in Universal, or is it going to be its
It's
own?
it's gonna be part of Nintendo Land, but it's
Okay.
gonna be if you know the Harry Potter area, it has like two different areas. Like Area 1 is what
Yeah.
every park's gonna have, which is Super Mario, and then Area 2
Uh huh.
is I think Zelda in Japan, but here in the US is going to be Pokemon. So
Yeah.
yeah, it, it
Yeah.
this is
it's grown so big for its own good.
no. I just think that it's going to simply move on from consoles at this point. Like again,
Yeah, but I think Zeus has had a point where it's grown too big to where it's like even some of the like you don't see that many Mario apps that are like pushing the like you don't see Nintendo threatening to move Mario to the mobile platform only. You don't see Zelda going, "Oh, we're just gonna go to your mobile phone." You can say that's a dystopian future for gaming, but it's like the reality is Nintendo. It shows how little Nintendo, like if Nintendo taken more control of Pokemon back in the day when it was still manageable and a smaller franchise, then Game Freak and Pokemon Company, I don't even say Game Freak, I think Pokemon Company wouldn't have the control over this greedy outcome as they do now. But like Zeus said, it's grown too big to where, as much as I push for Nintendo to do something about this, they probably really can't at this point.
I
Yeah,
mean,
And they
because if
probably
they
don't even
do,
want to.
they'll break away from Nintendo. They're that big.
Yeah.
They could. They'll be like, screw you,
Yeah.
Nintendo.
Yeah.
We'll yeah.
They'll
We'll
come
do
out
our
with
own
one
thing.
big Pokemon on like the PlayStation 5, and it's like then they'll move back to the market stuff, but they'll do it just to spite Nintendo at that point. And then, then with Nintendo fully out of control of it, it could spiral even worse.
You say that, but Little Town Hero turned out to be a flop because people didn't understand the mechanics of it. So,
Huh? I'm sorry, you roboted out on our end.
oh, like I was
Yeah.
saying, Little Town Hero ended up being a flop, and many people didn't understand the mechanics. So
Hmm.
that pretty much speaks of another reason why the morale is so low at the Pokemon at the Game Freak, because well, they tried to be, more independent, and their first independent venture ended up being bad. So,
Well, we don't want to say bad because it's like you don't know if the game itself is that bad, but it's like people people cared more about and wanted Pokemon, and they didn't make it. They made that known during the Little Town Hero showcase on stuff like Twitter, Facebook, et cetera, et cetera. And
Yeah,
B,
poor marketing and release window really hurt that game.
yeah,
There's no
and
way around it.
B, like they don't get to do what they want to do with Pokemon as much anymore because Pokemon Company is kind of hit that EA level of greediness,
yeah. But again,
Which is sorry to cut you off real quick. The last point I was going to make on that front is it's always the threat of that has always kind of been there with the nature of the two version system. It's always kind of been there, but now you don't even think about it having two versions when it comes to their greed about it. A, because it was on a handheld at the time, but now it's like you're already asking for $120 for the complete package, unless you have a ton of friends, and even then, it's there's just so much money you're spending on this game that is genuinely kind of subpar compared to a ton of the franchise.
yeah. And again, I'll be honest. I just don't think that. I think that the main reason behind this is because the Pokemon Company just wants to move on from console gaming, because again, console gaming is not as popular as mobile and PC anymore. So that's like you can say,
Mm,
hey, Yuli is shilling for PC gaming because he has a
I'm not
gaming
gonna
PC and
say
stuff
as
like
much
that.
that. I
But
think to say it's well to bring up PC is a moot point because they're not gonna put a Pokemon game on your home computer, and
oh no, they're not
Gen
gonna put
9
it
is
in
not gonna be on the
there.
PC. But
Yeah, yeah,
like I think console that's where I disagree a bit. I think it is still popular. I think it's more the point in my opinion. Like that's your opinion, that's fine. My opinion is that the console Pokemon games still sell like hotcakes, but the mobile market is just making so much more money at so much less work and so
yeah,
much less. Like they don't have to pay Niantic a lot to develop Pokemon Go. It's already kind of a template that's ripped off of one of their other games anyway. So
Also,
you
you'll
know,
and Dina does know
way
how
more
to
money for
make
less
video
work.
games, so you know.
Yeah.
yeah. Don't forget the state of the market. We say PC gaming is superior and that the future is going to go towards there, but that's because we're adults with jobs. A lot of the console market is still going to be geared towards people that have kids and they want their kids to play on that, and B, people
Yeah.
that just don't have the budget to build their own PC and indulge in PC gaming.
Oh yeah. And I
So
mean, we're
there's
not
a
gonna.
huge market for that still,
Yeah.
and that's not going
One
away.
day. Yeah. One day we'll get into a big dive on PC stuff, but like today's not that day. But just for quick thoughts in that regard, you're right. And console, I don't think the future is going to go predominantly PC. I think it's going to still be a mix. I think PC is getting more attention than it deserves. Like you and I have been talking about a long time about these PC ports of old games that are just freaking garbage. Like because they didn't care back then about PC gaming as much. But now it's in a good place, but the console is always going to have a place in my opinion. Not just because I'm a console diehard. It's like I think, like Zeus said, we're adults. We can potentially build our PCs, function the PCs, et cetera, et cetera. But there's always going to be kids who, you're just going to want to get your kid the box that you can put down on the floor and they can plug it in. And for the most part, you can play it. It's these days you still have to download stuff, but like you can turn on your PS4 and you know what you're doing. You can just get into a game. You just plug and play pretty much. And who knows if that's going to change with how console policies are kind of changing, but for the foreseeable future, I think there's always going to be a place for consoles, and that's why I think Pokemon still has a market there. It's just like I said, the mobile market is expanding so greatly. They just don't have a need to make the games as much.
Yeah, but then that begs the question: if we're certain of that future, getting back to Pokemon, is Game Freak the one who should still make these Pokemon games going forward?
No.
Or do you think their time has passed? We have to have fresh blood.
Genius Sonority. That's pretty much all I'm gonna say about the subject. Genius Sonority. Those are the guys who need to make the future Pokemon entries. Like at this point,
which is ironic because they're behind the two Pokemon games on console that people are like, oh, I'm gonna revel in this. People are like, Pokemon Coliseum and XD are not console Pokemon games. We need a true generation. These are bad because they're not Pokemon like I want it. And LOL, Pokemon Sword and Shield is not that good. And Pokemon XD and Gale of Darkness are better than Pokemon Sword and Shield. I win. Screw all of you. I get the console games that I liked. And Yule just said he wants the team that made those games to make future Pokemon games.
Yeah.
I win today. This is my winning day.
This is my moment.
Boys. This is my moment. I made it, boys. 10 years of playing those games. I finally made it.
What about the developers from Pokken Tournament? Why not they get a shot at something?
Why the hell do you want Koei Tecmo to make Pokemon games?
Yeah,
they're very competent at doing what they do right now.
Yeah, they do good like Dynasty Warrior games and stuff like that, but like, and they made a good Pokemon Tekken game, but it's like Pokemon Tekken and Dynasty Warriors is not Pokemon.
No, that's Bandai Namco. You're confusing one for the other, dude. No,
Koei Tecmo makes Dynasty Warrior games. What are you talking about?
No. Like Tekken. No, you're confusing Tekken for Dead or Alive. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, Dead or Alive is made by Koei Tecmo.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they still called it Pokken, and it was clearly inspired by Tekken.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless, I mean, semantics aside, it was a weird pull. Weird team to. I mean, hey, if they could make a good one and it would happen, you know what? I would be surprised, but I would give them credit for it. But yeah, I do agree. I think Game Freak can still make the games. I just think they need to give it to younger people who, you know, there's only so much the developer can do. Like we've kind of been saying, like Game Freak is responsible for some of this and how it turned out. But like if Pokemon Company is pushing this agenda, you know, it doesn't matter who you give it to. They're going to make those young people do the same thing.
Yeah, that's a valid point. It's just
you'd have to give it to young people, and
there can still be some pushback from the developer. Like they have a say, they can compromise, but it's really hard to tell.
They can, and I mean, with the gaming industry, it's kind of sad. They can push back, and then they're looking for a new job. You know, so it's like, you know, there's only so much you can do there. You know, I mean, you're right. Some developers can push back. Some people have the clout, but it's like that's where Nintendo would have to step in. They're the people that can push back against that if they wanted to. Yeah, but they're making so much money off.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're making money off of their stake in the intellectual property. So it's like I don't think they're going to complain that much. Yeah.
Yeah. Until it goes into red, which at this point I don't think it will. I think the sales numbers are actually pretty positive, right?
Yeah.
For the game so far. So yeah, it's. As much as we're complaining, this is all more of a moot point, but it is a troubling time for things to come. The one positive that I can pull out, though, is the music, though. Like, I took a listen to some of the tracks.
Oh, no, I hate the music of this game. The music of this game sounds like that of a DS game. Why the hell does it sound like that? I hate it.
I think some of the tracks are well... I think some of the tracks are well done, but, like, the reality is... I don't want to even say the reality, because Zeus has a fair opinion, but I agree with Yule. I think the fact that it still sounds like it belongs on a 3DS is kind of absurd. You have access to an orchestra that you can put on a Switch.
Yes.
But Switch space is not that limited. So the fact that they're not going to... I think the music is one of the best reflections of how Game Freak, how much effort the entire Pokemon Corporation and Game Freak put into Sword and Shield. It's like, you could do way better, and you have better hardware, and you can make this work really, really well. But it's so underwhelming because you just half-assed it, and you went into it half-cocked.
I
So
kind of wish that Generation 8 would take a cue from the anime and have like the orchestral rock score for like the whole game. That would have been
mhm,
really cool. But as far as the melodic, stuff and cause I took some tracks like Route One and the battle themes. And like, this is still
mhm,
Pokemon. It's still recognizably Pokemon, and
Yeah,
the
but
yeah,
Aratach is just
yeah, but
yeah
yeah,
missed
but
opportunity.
yeah, but they always
yeah,
yeah, but even then, like for example, in I could agree, but you know, soundtracks from generations like Generation 5, they try to push the sound cards to their limits, and like
mhm,
if you can listen to tracks from like Dragon Spiral Tower from Pokemon Black and White 2, that pretty much tells you how much effort they put into their tracks, but they didn't do that
right,
here. And it pretty much sounds like a DS game. In that regard, it's very half-assed. Like, yeah, it still
yeah,
sounds like Pokemon, but no, like Pokemon soundtracks back in the Generation 5 days, they were pushing the boundaries instead of trying to just go for you know the minimum.
Yeah, you're
And
right.
right,
You're right. I'm not disagreeing with you there. And that
yeah.
it just keeps tying into the theme of just missed opportunity and the feel of a 7.5 rather than a true Gen 8.
Yeah, and it's like that's kind of sad because it's like and the first console generation Pokemon game is something that fans have been dreaming about for a long time. Like I said, I mean, I would always get a lot of flack from friends and people online that I was like, I like Gale of Darkness and Coliseum a lot. I think for as well as you could make a console Pokemon generation without it being, I guess, a proper Pokemon game, I just think that those two games did it the best they could, and but and it was I mean I could say I have a valid argument back now, but back then, yeah, I can't wait for the console generation Pokemon, the home console Pokemon to come out. But now that it has, it just feels like they've only like Zeus just said, it feels like a 7.5.
by the way, I want to make a quick addendum. It was Bandai Namco that made Pokemon Tournament. That's why
Okay.
the Tekken inspirations came about.
They
But
got the reputation.
Okay.
but the
So
but the
fair enough.
question but the question still remains: why the hell do you want Bandai Namco to make a Pokemon game?
Why not, Yul? Given the opportunity, I say.
What?
I mean, I guess the fact that the formula is so damn stale right now is like, I guess Zeus kind of has a point. Like, why not make Pokemon something entirely new? The formula, that's the worst thing about Pokemon Sword and Shield, and we'll get into it more when we go into the mechanics and other aspects of this game. But like, it's X and Y all over again. It's the stalest feeling part of the formula, even if the design of like, I personally, one positive for me is going to be like the design of the towns and stuff, how they look like real towns now. But like, regardless, the formula itself just
you
feels so
can't
bland at this
you
point.
can't even enter the clear landmark, so that's a waste of space. Like, yeah, they show me these massive buildings that hey, I want to explore them. No, you can't enter them. Then why the hell are you
Yeah,
putting those? Oh my
yeah,
god!
it's just
Like,
such a waste. It's just such a waste of processing power at that point. But with that
Oh
being
yeah,
said, Zeus, do you wanna sail us into the mechanics of these games, more of what they changed turned out?
sure. So the biggest draw of this game that was heavily advertised in C3 is the presence of the wild areas, because now we have routes that go up into these big expansive areas like Breath of the Wild. But as you'll point out earlier, they are for the most part rather empty and embarrassing, and just a highlight of the shortcomings in the visual department. Like, we have Pokemon. So positive thing, the Pokemon in the grass is a cool thing. I'm glad we're moving on from from random encounters. However, they look so goofy in the grass. Like, birds that have wings that are supposed to flap are stiff as steel, moving around like the basic animation possible. And swimming Pokemon don't show swing motions. The water doesn't displace naturally, and it's so uncanny to look at sometimes. It
Right.
Oh my goodness! Like, how did
Which
it? How
is
did it? How is this
it's
immersion?
yeah, yeah, and it's like that's another point of contention of like just how did this happen? Let's Go. You can say whatever you want about Let's Go. I personally kind of like it, and I do want to go back to finishing it at some point once I'm through the millions and millions of video games that I have to play. Um, but like Let's Go got that right. like I think the Pokemon in the grass and Let's Go were all a really well done feature, and how you can get the rare Pokemon to show up and easily be able to see it. It's like Sword and Shield feels like a weird step back from something they got right in a somewhat spin-off remake of Gen 1. So it just doesn't make sense to me. How do you mess that kind of thing up?
Complacency, I guess. I don't know what else to
Yeah.
describe it as. But
I'm,
beyond, yeah, you.
I mean, like I said, it's going to always fall back to the market. So, you know, like no matter how much we spin this around, it's always going to fall back to the popularity of the mobile market and how, you know, many people, because of budget constraints, like we've been saying all along, are basically just, you know, settling in for Pokemon in the mobile department. So, you know.
That's kind of true, but I mean, that doesn't make for a very good podcast session. I mean, we can kind of look, we can, as much as you kind of can't look at Pokemon in a vacuum, we can look at some of this stuff in a vacuum and criticize or even praise some of where they went right. Like,
I mean, if you want
So,
me, if you want me to praise something about Pokemon Sword and Shield, I can tell you that the models, like, yeah, they were reused and everything, but they are properly scaled in the overworld and they look fantastic.
Yeah.
It's so, yeah,
Yeah.
1 point against minus 3,000.
one
Let's
point
go.
in positivity. And like I said, like, not to be so cynical and sad about it, like I said, I think one of the other areas I think they weren't right is I do like, even though you can't go into a lot of the big buildings and stuff, I do like how the towns are designed to be more like proper towns and they don't look like these Pokemon. It was kind of charming in Let's Go, don't get me wrong, but like, I'm kind of glad that you're going into a town and it's a proper, like, scaled town, That feels kind of cool. But the problem with Sword and Shield seems to always be not even just what Yule said, but it's like for every positive in Sword and Shield, there always seems to be a middling / negative point in counter to it.
Yes. There is another positive I do want to point out. Oh, a positive I want to point out. I just read that there are no HMs in this game, so to access certain areas, you can just pretty much explore your heart's intent. You don't have to have an HM slave anymore.
They literally made this game really freaking easy and
Yep.
Yeah.
Less puzzles. You just do what you want.
Yeah, and another thing we can kind of contend is like the EXP share is demanded to be on at all times. You can't. There's no option for it now, and it's like that was one of the biggest like why moments to me. There's so many things about this game that's kind of frustrated a lot of us, but like for me, the biggest one that's kind of baffling and I just don't understand it is how you can't turn off the EXP share. Like, what's the point anymore?
Yeah.
Even in Let's Go, it's kind of just too. You can turn it off in Let's Go, even I'm pretty sure, and it's like great, but it just feels too easy. You know what I mean? Like, there's just no challenge to it anymore. And it's a single player game directed at kids, but kids aren't brain dead stupid.
Right.
Kids can grind. Kids can play RPGs. We played it as kids ourselves, so there's no excuse to say it's for the kids. Blah blah. That's not an excuse. We played it as kids too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
So.
there are also. I want your thoughts on these couple of features to see if this really is a more of a convenience thing or if this makes the game too easy. One being, you can heal your party almost anywhere on the map by these Pokemon camps. So instead of going to a town, because we have these bigger wild areas, you just set up camp, you have materials you buy from the store, and you cook curry for your Pokemon, which heals them up and makes their happiness.
My instant opinion is, you're just taking cues from every modern open world game now. Final Fantasy 15 did it, Red Dead 2 did it, all these big open world games in the modern era have done this thing. They're kind of just taking the same path. So to me, it's not that special.
Who even cares? Like, you can pretty much get healed at any point in the game. Like, even at the beginning, even at the beginning, that they make sure that you're completely healed up after every single freaking battle. It's just like, yeah, that's good and all, but I'd like to have at least some risk, or something.
It almost feels like as if you're gonna need to heal. Like as if I'm gonna really need to heal at a campsite. Do I really need to?
Not really.
I guess not. I mean, it's just trying to, yeah, like you said, other games, like the Breath of the Wild
Do
cooking
it.
mechanic.
Yeah.
Because
You
you can
know,
make different
So
recipes, different effects.
you know,
But
yeah.
that's the point.
if you're going to glorify if you're going to glorify auto healing at this point, why don't you do what Xenoblade Chronicles does and auto
Just
heal?
auto heal out of battle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, why bother? Why bother giving the players a choice at this point? Just give them auto heal and call it a day. You're not even going. You're not even giving them a choice to begin with. So
Hmm.
Yeah.
You can
Any
also,
other
for convenience, yeah, you're able to access your Pokemon box from anywhere on the map and swap your team on the fly.
that's a positive because that's kind of cool. But you could also kind of do that in Let's Go. I'm pretty sure you can kind of change out your party whenever you wanted, but it's still positive. It still remains that it's like, look, that's a good convenience because I've always kind of felt like it was annoying to have to go back to a Pokemon Center just to. You're only able to have 6 Pokemon at a time, pretty much, even though no matter how many you caught. I think the idea that they changed that is kind of like long time coming. I don't know why they didn't do this any sooner. But I'm glad that they did it because it's like that's great, you know.
Yeah. And the last thing I guess to address would be the whole Dynamax Gigantamax system, because they are distinct, but the first part Dynamaxing goes into Dynamax raids, and the way the raid system is handled, based on what I've seen with a lot of videos, is there's literally red glowing pillars on the map that you walk to, and as long as you have a party nearby, you can enter that raid, just like Pokemon Go. So there's no effort to find these things. They're just literal all over the map. It's just, hey, you want to tackle a giant Pokemon? It's in the middle of a field. Let me touch this thing. Oh, boom! I'm transported to this desolate wasteland to fight this thing.
By the way, fair warning. By the way, fair warning for anyone playing this game: don't go into raid battles alone because I have been getting a lot of reports of people trolling the online raids, and basically, they're trying to. What they do is often use moves like Surf or Explosion to, you know, yeah, to
They're
damage.
griefing basically.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
yeah, try not to go with a party that you don't
that you
know.
don't trust.
Yeah, exactly. Because because if you do, there's a very high likely chance that you'll come across these griefers, and
Yeah, like I'm playing Dot Hack right now, and they turn that concept into a story point. But the reality of it being a story point is because it exists in the real world. So be careful out there.
yeah. And in terms of Dynamax and Gigantamax,
Gigantamax. There's a difference.
glorified thief moves, and I don't really care about it.
Yeah, there's a difference,
Gigantamax-
but my
Sorry.
opinion is it's going to be kind of simple. It's like I'm so tired of these kind of gimmicks. Like they don't. Even when I saw Dynamax, I was so under. I'm like, oh, okay, you made kaiju battles. Good for you. Like I just don't care. Like to be honest, it's not going to sell me on the game. They put so much development resource into making this entire gimmick, making any Pokemon be able to have like most of the Pokemon be able to have a Dynamax form, and it's like
This
like
is
so
already
much.
feature and go.
Yeah,
not
it's
new.
like and yeah, regardless, like you could have just taken out this entire thing and just put more care into the development of the core game. Like I don't understand these gimmicky like even with I didn't even think the Z moves were kind of cool because at least they had some flair to them and they were kind of cute and they did the trainers did the little poses and all that junk, but like even Mega Evolutions, I was like, why not just give these Pokemon new evolutionary forms instead of trying to excuse yourself from doing Charizard again or Mewtwo, giving him a new special form, et cetera, et cetera. Like, why not just give some of these Pokemon that need them new evolutionary forms? Like, everyone lost their shit when Fetch came out, and he's like one of the coolest parts of the game because he's just so cool. But it's like that inspiration is so lost in these gimmicks.
Yes.
I hate it.
Yeah. And you know what happened to the Z moves and Mega Evolutions? That's what I was trying to get with the Gigantamaxing.
That's
Gigantamaxing basically changes their form and also gives them a super Giganta move or Z move, whatever they call it. So they basically combine every feature into Gigantamaxing.
Why do you think that I said glorified C moves?
Yep. That's all it is.
True.
That's all
But
it
still,
is.
yeah, it's just like it doesn't make sense. I even said it when the Dynamaxing was revealed to be the big thing, and I'm like, I don't really care. Like these gimmicks aren't working for them, so they need to stop.
Yeah, and other than that, there's not much else. I mean, the rest of the game is pretty ho hum.
Or
Um,
time stops like whenever you climb a ladder for some reason. Like
wow.
Yeah,
I just don't know. Like this game is too mediocre, and at the same time, whenever I try to talk bad about it, I think about the people that are enjoying it, and I'm like,
that's where we
uh,
can kind of transition into the topic that's going to sort of lead us out of Pokemon still, but it's important is like
Yeah.
the Twitter reaction and Twitter responses are this entire week has been kind of crazy. There's a lot of crazy stuff that's been kind of going on, and it's basically become a civil war of Pokemon fans and kind of casuals. It's like, what are some of your guys' thoughts on all this going on?
About the whole social media storm, I think it's
Yeah,
justified. And as much as I dislike the outrage culture sometimes of social media, I mean, I think fans have a right to be concerned and saying all these things, especially when Game Freak has been lied to. I mean, not Game Freak has lied to the fans. That's what I meant to say. And
yeah,
stuff like that can't be tolerated. In an era where we can't trust a lot of the sources we see online, having a beloved developer lie to your fans about the reason for the models is just terrible. It's terrible and
yeah.
justified outrage over it.
Yeah, and it's like that's the biggest story about this is like they said they justified their cutting of the Pokemon, a good chunk of the Pokemon, about a quarter of it, and they said, oh, it's so that we can ensure the quality of this game, so we can take the next step in Pokemon, you know, with a deep quality, and it's like the reality is you didn't, this game's quality is mediocre at best, and the fact that you ended up still lying to us about that, and you just reused models from the 3DS era, textures from the 3DS era. It's like, are you serious? I think it justifies so many people who are upset about this game, and I don't care about people on Twitter who are like, "It's just Pokemon. It's supposed to be fun." Or if y'all want to go on about Cerebi, if the owner of Cerebi really did get harassed, I'm very sorry to him, and I really do hope he's okay. But the reality is that is not a scapegoat excuse to justify this junk that Pokemon Sword and Shield has been giving us. It's not to justify how mediocre the game is. I think you can be respectful about your opinions. You should be. I definitely am. I've had some respectful debates with people who do like Pokemon, and I'm like, okay, I respect your opinion, and you have every right to like it. But to the obnoxious people that are just trying to justify loving it and being diehards, and I'm gonna buy Pokemon no matter what. It's supposed to just be fun, yada yada yada. It's like it just doesn't work like that. And I think it's just such a civil war, but it's like it really shows how many people Pokemon does reach. So it all does kind of go back to Pokemon Company and a little bit of Game Freak, you know. But that's just my 2 cents on it. I just I think if you like the game, that's fine. But if I think anyone who doesn't like it has a multitude of reasons not to like it, and a justification for all of those reasons at this point.
I'm not going to go into my thoughts on it because I fear that I will be saying something that I will regret saying. So, meh.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot more people need that stance. You know what I mean? Like Yule, I respect Yule for that stance because it's like I think a lot more people need to be mature and realize that, like, look, on either side of the fence, if you're a diehard and you're kind of acting obnoxious, or if you're an overly hateful person and you're just bashing on the game endlessly and bashing people who like the game, then I think both of those sides need to take a step back and realize, look, sometimes the old adage goes that if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all, and it really does apply to these kind of moments.
Yes. And this week has certainly been just a bad example of all that. There's been a lot of fire thrown at both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's
always
it's the entire it's been building this entire year, but Pokemon release week we already knew was going to be the head to all of this.
Yep.
Mm.
So we should have seen this coming.
Mm-hmm.
And now all the fan base has to deal with the consequences because people don't like being lied to. People are supporting a product people have been fans for decades now. I mean, Pokemon first came out, what, 98? It's 21 years old. So
98, 97, around that time in Japan, yeah. So it's like it's definitely been a childhood franchise for a lot of generations.
so of course
At this
there's gonna
point.
be vocalness on both sides. People are
Hmm.
either sick of it or people just love it to death. I mean, that's just the
Yeah,
consequence of a long running franchise.
yeah,
And I just hope that in the future, the fan base, or at least the criticisms, can reach the developing tiers. But just based on what we talked about, I don't think the formula is going to change anytime soon, and that's the biggest downer
hmm
of all this. We can yell all we
yeah,
want, but as long as the money keeps flowing, as long as you keep, paying and supporting the decision, it's not going to end.
yeah. And I think that's my last kind of stance on it. Is like, look, it's more because if people are being overly hateful and being extremely hateful and rude to people who do like it, I don't have to say anything about
People
that. You
are gonna
shouldn't do
buy
that.
people are gonna game just to spite on you, so you fail at your objective,
You feel driven, but the other side of it too is kind of like, look, if you are this diehard fan, you love it, and you're gonna go on that. I don't want to see you complaining about the game being boring. I don't want to see you complaining about the game because you're directly letting them know that it's okay to do this. So if you're gonna buy the game, you better enjoy it at least because you don't you kind of lose a valid opinion in saying you're bored with it unless you were ready to accept that you kind of were your opinion changed, but if you're going to sit here and like it and then criticize it but still criticize people, like, obviously you're kind of just not going to get heard because you're paying the money and you're supporting what Pokemon is at this moment in time. So, and I say that about any fan base that loves their franchise or game series to death.
Yep.
A big example is, like, I love Kingdom Hearts 3 and I will defend the game, but I also, like, am ready to say I accept that this is what Kingdom Hearts is right now and I'm ready to support it with my money. I'm not going to go around and say, yeah, Kingdom Hearts 3 disappointed me, but I still love it and anyone who hates it, screw you. But, like, put your money where your mouth is at the end of the day.
Yep.
Speaking of
Well
Kingdom
said.
Hearts 3, a demo for it
We
was
should probably
announced.
move on
A
from
demo
Pokemon
for
at this point.
a demo for Kingdom Hearts 3 was announced during X019, and I think that's the best way to transition into X019. So let's do that. Yeah, Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to get a playable demo which you can download right now on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. I think that's really
which
good.
is great, but here's my problem. The game has already been out for almost a year.
I know.
Why?
Oops.
Why didn't you do this before the game released? I think that would have been great. But, like, it's, I guess, better late than never, but, like, it's a little confusing, but cool. But that's only a sugaring of what the real news in Kingdom Hearts is from X019, and that I'm proud to announce it kind of is that for Xbox users who have never gotten to play the Kingdom Hearts series if you've been Xbox diehards, or if you really want to own the Kingdom Hearts series on the Xbox to go with your Kingdom Hearts 3 copy, you can now all of the Kingdom Hearts games 1.5 through 2.9 will now be coming to the Xbox One.
Yay! I'm still very ambivalent, and I don't care about Kingdom Hearts, but yay! Well done, Kingdom Hearts fans.
Then I guess you're not doing Kingdom Hearts 2 for the channel. Then good to know.
Hey!
I don't care about Kingdom Hearts except I'm gonna play the game that we has loved since childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's cool. It's one piece in a broader representation of Square Enix at this con. This is one of the most baffling things because, like, I was really surprised that the two Square Enix both of their biggest franchises, Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts, are both going to be slowly coming to Xbox One. Like, they also announced that a majority of the modern Final Fantasy games, dating all the way back to 7, are going to be slowly, periodically releasing on Game Pass through 2020. Which is great for Yule because he loves the 13 trilogy, and all three of those are getting put on Xbox One.
Excuse me. I don't love the entire 13 trilogy. I only love Lightning Returns, okay?
Well, you tolerate 13 too, at least, and
yes.
But yeah, it's like Lightning through, and the glory is that side of it, because I don't think the Kingdom Hearts games are going to be in the Game Pass, but correct, addendum if I'm incorrect, you'll know. But Final Fantasy, I can for sure say is it's probably going to be on reliably on PC now because Game Pass is on PC.
Mhm.
Yes. Now,
So all the way up to 15 is going to be on it.
how
What was your
about that Game
question?
Pass? Yeah, how about that Game Pass though? Like, how quickly is this growing? And
Oh wow, it's becoming the objective best Netflix-like service for gaming at the moment. Like, Yule was making fun of Stadia earlier, and that obviously has its issues now, and there's going to be another reason to mock Stadia here in a couple minutes, but
I don't
yeah,
think so. I don't think so because the Project X Cloud exists to mock that and mock that project. You know.
true. But I think
Uh,
even PS now kind of is basically shutting down because it couldn't match the quality of Game Pass and how it's handled.
yeah, but like I said, get like I said, if you want to mock Stadia, you have XCloud for that, and 50 games got announced for
Yeah.
that. Like,
crazy.
Excuse me, can you at least let Stadia have some of the limelight?
Can you let Stadia be out for like a minute before you just like dunk on them with a much better service? And here's the bonus about xCloud. You don't have to use it. You can have your Xbox Scarlet or whatever's coming next or your Xbox One. And this is just a subsidiary project. It's almost like Xbox kind of was like, yeah, we're in kind of a good place. You know that Google Stadia thing? We're also just going to kind of mock it and dunk on it. Just for funsies. Just
I
for
mean,
funsies.
I mean, look at the lineup of games compared to Stadia's 14. Like XCloud is going to have Ace Combat 7, Dead by Daylight, Dead Island Definitive Edition, like Crackdown 3, Children of the Morta, like Gears 5, Halo 5 Guardians, Halo Wars 2, Forza Horizon 4. It's going to have Hitman Game of the Year edition, and Kingdom Come Deliverance, Mutant Year Zero, Overcooked,
We don't have to
Oxenfree.
list off every single of the 50 games, but
you guys get the idea that it's
Yes.
basically
you get the idea
just...
that they basically come out with one announcement said, you don't need to spend a ton of money getting the Stadia because we have a service that's probably going to be better and it's a subsidiary and there's just much better games coming to it.
And it even supports the fucking DualShock 4.
Yeah, even Microsoft's like, yeah, we're going to let you use your PlayStation controllers because fuck Google. Like, okay. You know what? This kind of bit. Sorry to cut you off, Zeus. Actually, go ahead, Zeus, because this is going to be a bigger question.
Yeah, well, yeah, I just want to add on to the whole praise bandwagon, but just look at the subscription cost for an Xbox Game Pass. It's really not that more expensive than other streaming services right now, and it gives people, especially people that don't have a lot of money to spend, and I know a lot of my friends don't make that much money, so this is a great, awesome option to them, so they don't miss out and support the developer. Like, it's a lot of good to be said about the service for sure. I haven't used it, but I've heard nothing but good about it.
Yeah, but XCloud, man.
My big question is with how X019 has turned out. I mean, they even had a ton of new IPs announced. But do you think this is kind of setting like Xbox One tanked in this generation, and Microsoft suffered the brunt of it for most of it? But with how they've slowly been building themselves up towards the latter half of this generation, do you think Microsoft is set up for a really, really big next generation,
Yes.
like even bigger than what they had with the 360?
Yes.
They're making a comeback.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're making a huge comeback.
It seems like the generations kind of shift every generation now. Like, Sony kind of owned the PS2 generation with its library, but then Xbox came out with the 360, and the same can be said. It's basically, it kind of comes down to who has the better policies and who owns the library. So they shift in a menial sense, kind of like how a weather shift can be like very small increment shift, but this one seems like I think Microsoft's setting up for like the biggest swing we have ever seen since they started competing with this next generation
coming out, and they're primed for an explosion.
Yeah, they're primed for an explosive swing, and there are a lot of rumors that PlayStation 5 is not going to be as massively backwards compatible as it was rumored. So it's like Microsoft is really setting up to really like that was the one thing about PlayStation 5 that I thought really would have put them in neck and neck race for each other, but like now it really seems like Sony's or Microsoft's ready to just knock one out of the grand slam out of the ballpark. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is, and the whole conference in general. Like, you guys saw the whole conference, or just bits and pieces of it?
Yeah, I
I
saw the news recap because I wasn't prepared for it even happening this week. It kind of came out of nowhere to me. I totally forgot about it.
I mean, if you want some insider opinion, like Eurogamer brought some interesting points about Phil Spencer's interest in terms of Xbox. And Microsoft is still looking into studio acquisitions and is interested in the Asian market. So,
Hmm.
Microsoft is just looking to become the number one at this point. And I think
Yeah,
that
they
they
really want to take
realize,
back the crown.
yeah, and I think that they realize that the only way to do this is by aligning with Nintendo for one, um, and then basically just dunking of every single service that the competition has tried to push out.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's
you
what
want?
I
Yeah, because it's not even just Stadia that is really just demolished by Microsoft's competency, which is ironic to say, but it's not really just them. It's like PS Now got utterly slaughtered because it's just not the same as Game Pass, and it's not worth it in comparison.
Oh no, like I avoided that like the plague. Like I'd rather just buy used games at that point and just not deal
Oh,
with the
oh,
service.
oh yeah. I mean, I used the trial run, and it. I mean, if you could get a good Wi-Fi connection, it was fine. But like when I played through the Uncharted games for the first time using it, I was like, it was such a frustrating experience.
I just bought the collection for that. $20, three
I
games,
I
fun.
Oh yeah.
honestly want to see what the hell is going to happen with Project X Cloud because oh my god, that project is scaring me because it looks like it's going to be really really successful and cloud gaming, it's not something I really look forward to.
The prospect
But if
of
it,
gaming on a mobile phone still doesn't appeal to me, but like,
yeah, cloud gaming is something I'm not looking forward to because of the implication. But I think if anyone's got a good head start at potentially making it decent, I guess Microsoft would have to be kind of the company that's primed to take it out, and go good with it.
But my god, it just destroyed Google Stadia, poor guys. Like
they
this,
weren't ready.
I give Stadia like at most 18 months before it's dead.
Yeah. You say they weren't ready, Zeus, too, and I'm just over here like, yeah, they weren't ready, but boy, did they sure go in hard on it. So it's like,
Yeah,
there's a bit of your own bed being made in that regard.
yeah, but in this history, you kind of have to. Otherwise, you're not going to stand out. You'd be buried under the big boys over here. And
True, but
Microsoft,
Google had the golden opportunity for their first foray, and they have the funds to be like, look, let's wait until we are 100% ready and sure this is going to be at least a decent venture. And it's like I think they really jumped the gun on that.
yeah,
It'd be
and
different for Microsoft and Sony because they've already been in the game for about nearly 20 years now. So
they can afford to fail.
yeah,
Stadia can't.
yeah.
So yeah,
First impressions mean everything.
So yeah, let's also talk about the new IP by Rare.
It'll be out sometime.
They're alive. What?
They still make real video games? What? I thought the Kinect and them were like hand in hand in death now.
Yeah, I thought they were just gone for good. Like they went the way of what's that studio? LucasArts or Pandemic or just another dead studio, but no, they still have them kicking.
Yeah. That's kind of good though, because it's like now actually Rare might be one of the studios primed for a comeback with this new life being breathed into Microsoft's care for studios and wanting to make good games for its next generation. You could see a comeback from Rare now that they've been kind of waiting all this time, and we're kind of doomed after Nuts and Bolts to be the Kinect studio and shovelware, developers. Like now with this new stance in Microsoft, Rare could really benefit and lead the charge on that kind of thing. But we'll just have to wait and see.
I mean, I have to ask though, what do you guys think that Everwild is going to be?
Ooh,
I don't know.
I get a lot of
I
vibes
don't-
from that trailer.
Yeah, I don't think at all that it's going to go back to that old Rare style of collectathon en masse. I think they're going to try something new. Because I
It's
just don't
open
think there would be
world.
any.
Looks like it.
Yeah, so it could go either way in that front, but I personally think they're going to try a little more new with it. And I don't think they're gonna try to corner that market that grew up with their games. I think it's gonna be something different.
They're really embracing the Breath of the Wild style. A lot of people are making those comparisons already
Yeah,
with the cel
Pokemon Sword
shading.
and Shield. Sorry. Sorry.
Warranted. But this game already looks far better than Pokemon Sword and Shield, and I hope when we see gameplay of this, that there's actually some objectives, some stories, some reason to invest
To
ourselves in
buy
this
and
world.
play the game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because why are we here? This isn't Wildlife
Mhm.
Simulator. This isn't Plane
Yeah,
Simulator.
you can't be Death Stranding and kind of low key get away with a walking simulator. It's something new entirely. So it's like they really gotta. I think Microsoft's gonna have to also just give them the flexibility to do what they're doing. Not as much as aforementioned Hideo Kojima, but I think they deserve the flexibility after all the years they've done in the trenches being the Connect guys. I think they kind of deserve a chance to just do what they want right
Knowing
now.
knowing Rare, they're going to make the Ghost of Banjo-Kazooie pop up and say nobody wants to play exploration games anymore. They're going to all they want is to play walking simulators.
Uh, poor
I don't know
Banjo will be
about that.
rolling in his Smash roster spot.
Terry stole his spot at this point, so who cares?
I still play Banjo. I like Banjo in Smash. He's fun.
anyways,
He's a
anyways,
traditional character.
that's besides the point. We also got a lot of ports announced during X019. Planet Coaster is coming to Xbox One. Bleeding Edge is finally gotten a release date.
Cool.
That's cool.
Cool. I
like-
don't really get what this
I-
game is, but cool.
I don't want to diss a Ninja Theory, but why do you have to make
Nah.
another copy of Overwatch?
Yeah,
it,
we
though?
already have enough of that. And we already have a copy of Overwatch and Overwatch 2, so,
Yeah, there's some indie games from the show that I noticed. One
Another
falling-
game. I was just gonna say another interesting announcement is that one of my favorite Halos, Halo Reach, is gonna get added to the Master Chief Collection on December 3rd.
Yes.
cool.
And it's coming to
Hello.
PC on the same date as well, so.
Yeah, I love Halo Reach. I'm not gonna get to enjoy it, but that's fine. I'm happy for the people that are gonna get to enjoy it. That's a good game.
I haven't played Reach, but maybe I should try it one of these days at some point. I've only done Halo
Sure.
1 through 3 and 4.
It's one of the best creative. Like it has one of the best forges in the series, in my opinion. I think Forge World's great, so
Cool.
worth a shot. Any in the indie games you're talking about, Zeus?
Yeah, I'm trying to look at the name during the show, but it just follows this guy with like a guitar, and he looks. It looks like it almost looks like Ori and the Will of the Wisps in terms of like the setting, but it just follows this guy, and he uses his music to soothe monsters and like fight them, and I don't know.
Oh, I think I saw a trailer for that at a kiosk in a Walmart, ironically, and it looked kind of interesting. He had like a guitar on his back, and it was kind of a little bit cel shaded, but a little bit not. It kind of looks like
Yes.
that We Happy Few game, kind of, where it's in that in between graphical style. Yeah, I've saw that game. I don't remember the name myself either. Apologies, but yeah, that looked kind of interesting.
Yeah, and I'm glad Microsoft is attempting to properly treat their indie studios well and give them a chance to shine, unlike EA. But hey,
Well, to be fair,
yeah.
one of the best indie studios has been for like PS4 and like and Nintendo. Microsoft definitely has needed to step up in that department for most of the generation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's also the fact that well, I think one of the most exciting announcements that came from from XO19 is actually the like the fact that Minecraft Dungeons already has a release date, because that game is a pretty interesting one, in my opinion.
Yeah, as much as you can mock Minecraft and I still kind of like Minecraft. I think it's now that it's moved on from being the YouTuber kid stream thingy majig, the Fortnite before the Fortnites. I think Minecraft Dungeons is kind of cute. It's a cute little dungeon crawler in the Minecraft style, and I think even when we saw it at E3 this last year, I was like, that's cute. That's cool. I'd play that for like an hour or two, couple hours maybe.
There was also some gameplay reveal trailer for Age of Empires 4, which, oof, it looks so good. It looks so crisp and you want to play it.
It's been years since I've tried real-time strategy, but I know the hype. I remember the hype from those days. So good to see that franchise still going.
Good for real-time strategy fans. I'm not a huge RTS guy, but you know,
Neither am I, but
that's cool.
neither am I, but I am a freaking Age of Empires fan, and it just tickled my fancy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that and
I
Tycoon
think everyone
are
deserves a game that
underrated.
does that.
Like when I saw Planet Coaster, I'm like, that's a cute game I could get lost in for a little bit.
Well,
Because
so
that was me. That was me growing up with Roller Coaster Tycoon.
we also saw some interesting reveals. Like, if we want to go back into competitive gaming for a while, let's talk about that Mortal Kombat 11 trailer. You know, Sindel is coming back to Mortal Kombat 11,
I'm
and
not touching that game.
Cool.
Saying that right now.
Oh, oof.
she
That's not my 2D style of fighter, dude. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but
Fair enough.
Yeah, but still, like, Sindel looks like she's going to be a little bit OP, but at the same time, I thought the same about Terminator, and he turned out to be kind of middle of the road. So, yeah, I wonder what the hell is going to happen when Sindel rolls around.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it could be an interesting setup. I think the Terminator came out pretty well. He's not too OP, and like I said, I think your DLC characters should come out pretty balanced into what they are, into what the game flow is already. So, and Smash, you know, say what you will about Ultimate, ever since, I think Hero is the only one that really stands out as a really, like, you know, one of those eye turning away memes, but like looking at the hero and then looking away. But other than that, Smash characters are, I complain about Joker a little bit, but they all come out really balanced to what the game already is. So you got to give them props for that. And I think Sindel looks kind of OP, but we'll have to wait to play her. I'm not a huge Mortal Kombat guy either, but I've always kind of had a fascination with the series since childhood. So cool. I'm glad that they're getting a fan favorite back.
And I think that's it for the X019 announcements. To be honest, like, I still am really hyped for xCloud and the Game Pass, which both have received massive buffs at this point. Like,
Yeah.
it's undeniable that both of these services are going to be
xCloud
really
and Game
good.
Pass are OP. Oh man, that Buster Wolf shit is annoying on that xCloud. Oh man, and you really need to nerf that Game Pass, man. Too much quality for money, low money.
Yeah, I'm sure all the corporate people are squirming. It's like, too good
We
of
gotta
value.
nerf that game. Nerf the Game Pass. Make them pay for less.
Double the price. Do something.
Every stock loss gives you $5 to get a new stock.
Wow. But
Yeah, if I were a shareholder or something like that, like, I will invest a lot in Microsoft right now, because they seem
Yes.
to be able.
Yeah.
They seem to be coming back to their
2020 is going to be their year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, 2020 is going to be the year to watch for this in general. This like gaming, honestly, because the next generation is starting next year. But
In a new
yeah,
decade.
like we,
Holy crap.
yeah, like stop. No, but like we said, Microsoft is gearing up for a Grand Slam hit. So, I mean, we'll just have to see if they really can't, because Microsoft can kind of have a tendency to fumble at the goal line a little bit, like, you know, like Zeus over here. But
Shoosh. We don't speak of that.
But what we do speak about is they have a tendency to set themselves up really well and nice, and then they kind of just throw it away with one bad mistake. So we'll have to really see if they can hold on to this potential and ride it through to a successful generation. Probably one of the most successful we could have seen out of any generation in gaming, to be honest, since the PS2 at least.
Oh, yeah.
The PS4 is wildly successful, but like I don't think anything really tops the PS2 in terms of overall longevity and success. I say longevity because it's like a lot of 80s, 90s things did last till the 2000s, but I mean longevity and continued success. I think the PS2 has most things beat in that one combined regard.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. But I think Zeus had brought up a really good question that we're gonna kind of discuss to slowly wrap up the podcast. With X019 having so many big announcements and being kind of a success for Microsoft, do you think there's really a need for a proper E3 anymore?
I don't.
No, I don't.
I honestly don't. I think we're in the information age now, and E3 was a necessity back then because we had lack of sources of information and ways to display our showcase. Because I remember back in those days, huddling in front of the TV, waiting to see what was going on. And now we just have big shows. Nintendo does their show. Sony has their shows. Now Microsoft.
I am going to save my opinion for that for later, because if I were to talk about E3 2020, I will have to talk about their presentation and their attempt to control the message and the medium, and that is
for you. That's definitely a little gray.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we can say it's like to say it, put it the lightest. Like E3 2020 has been rumored and shown to pretty much be a show for. They're basically going to be trying to reel in the content influencer, the influencer crowd and the YouTubers, and they're really going to go to this media stretch ride of its life.
No
and
more
I think,
marketing, please. No more.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the problem. It's like that's why it's kind of heartbreaking for me. Is like Zeus has the stance of we don't need it anymore, and that's fair. But to me, that kind of breaks my heart because E3, since I've been a little kid, has been this almost. I mean, it's cliche to say, okay.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, but why do you? I get where you're coming from, especially because I also was a pretty hype boy around E3.
But you didn't even let me finish what I was gonna say.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, but like I said, why do you need this when you have, when you have hyper shows like Gamescom, Tokyo Game Show, stuff like that,
But that's not the point, Yule. It's like a lot of our generation, regardless of what you're saying right now, that's not the point. A lot of our generation grew up with E3 being this Christmas of game news. A ton of the biggest video game reveals of all time have been at E3. You can't discredit that just because, we have Gamescom. It's a fair hurting feeling to say, E3 is now just the odd man out. We don't need any more. They're not going to do any big shows anymore. E3 is pretty much 2020 is pretty much confirmed, and this new direction, I don't like it, and it's like that's sad because E3 to me means something that it's not going to mean going forward anymore. Like the last good one is going to be 2018, in my opinion.
Besides, one Christmas of games, we got to the Game Award.
Then we have content all year. BlizzCon, man, like studios now, they can host their own shows if they really want to, and trash about their information. But
let's just end this podcast before we make Alex cry inside more and more.
The Game Awards, man. You know that we're building up for the Game Awards since last week and a half. So
when is that, by the way? Are we gonna stream it?
Yeah, we're gonna have to.
We'll do a podcast on it. Because we never saw it coming.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's obvious that they're going to announce the last DLC character for Smash during the.
And we'll never see it coming.
It's not going to be another Persona 5 character. Stop.
No.
We'll never see it coming, whatever it is.
Please.
You get this. You crush my childhood in one sentence. You get this. You get this, Mom. You get this. You get this, Alex. You get this, Alex that's sad and depressed and wants to just go home and cry.
Who wants to kill you at this point?
Feels defeated. I don't care about going by my real name.
You love it so much, and a lot of people have.
Yeah.
It has changed.
Yeah, I mean, 2018 was the last time. 2018 was the last time I had a true E3 Christmas. I got Devil May Cry 5. I got RE2. I got all these games that I wanted. A good Kingdom Hearts trailer, but it was already being revealed today. Yeah, and it's like, 2019 this year even was not that great.
No.
Wasn't Resident Evil 2 remake announced at the Game Awards first?
No, it was not.
No?
No, it was not. We had this debate, you, and I proved you wrong.
Okay.
It was at E3.
Okay.
And then there was another thing shown at Game Awards, but it was at E3.
Okay.
Alright,
Well-
remake, please.
I guess. I guess.
Make it happen.
I think-
Let's go.
I was defeated when he said, "Oh, the Game Awards." Like, yeah, okay, great. Jeff Keighley, yeah, he's my champion.
Hey,
Great.
Alex, you know that the Game Awards is also the. You know that a lot of people tune into the Game Awards for the announcements anyway, so.
Yeah, true, but oh well. Now with Alex's depressive state, we should probably just wrap up the podcast this week. We'll see you guys next
We'll
week.
see you guys next week.
Yeah, see you guys.